music too loud?
I don't know if this is too loud for you out there. I'm just going to keep talking and we'll see what happens. Is this okay for you? Do you want it louder?
What?
Louder, they say.
What?
A little louder.
What?
A little louder.
What?
A little louder.
What? I said what in the butt.
Oh no. Anyways, so you are very welcome to come down closer if you want, you know, the best seats in the house. It's not like there's anybody sitting in many of these seats, so just grab whatever seat you want, up close if you can, be part of the family, you know. And I'm gonna tell you about some tips and tricks for your very first furry convention. So if you've been to several furry conventions before, which you haven't since you're here, you might know that many of them have a panel like this. You know, when somebody experienced, and I guess that's me now. Yes, somebody with a bit of convention experience, you know, gives you some tips and tricks of things that they have learned. So I've been going to cons for 10 years. I think I recently counted at least 20 furry conventions, and I've also watched videos and so on these kinds of panels. So I have a few tips for you at least. So for sort of to start out, I'm going to ask you, however, is this your first furry convention? Yeah. So give pause in the air if this is your first con. That's a lot of pause. Okay, let's do the opposite. If this is not your first furry con, put your paws in the air now. Okay, so what are you doing here? No, it's totally fine. I mean, it's going to be repetitive because it's the same me, same jokes, you know, everything. But you're very welcome to be here. Okay, and is there anybody who didn't put their paw up on either of the previous two things? You can do so now. Okay, I see one. No. Anyways, so let me make this a little more complicated now. I'm going to ask you a question. Why are you here? I mean, okay, not this panel, but why are you at this convention?
My friends brought me here.
Yes, and why have you come here?
I have always wanted to.
Try new things.
Yes, okay, we're hearing a couple of good ones here.
Fun, have fun.
Exactly, that was I think that's mostly, you know, when I listen to people, that is usually the common denominator of what happens at this, right? So we're here to enjoy each other's company, you know, celebrate some sort of fantasy world together, maybe celebrate the real world too. So you could ask yourself then, you know, if we're here to have fun, why are you here? Why aren't you out there actually having fun? Why are you, you know, listening to me talking? So I'm actually here to, you know, in some way help you have fun. So turns out there are some things you can do with furry conventions that will really make it an awesome convention for you. And then there are some other things you can do at a furry convention which will turn it into a weekend of hell. And the thing is, it's not always so easy to tell the difference between these two. But if I can prevent, you know, just one of you from not having fun at this convention, then this is totally worth it to me. So the idea from now is that I'm going to be speaking maybe for 45 minutes, perhaps a bit more. But if you have a question or anything, please feel free to interrupt me. Okay, so we have a number of different topics to cover. Most of them are advice on things perhaps not to do sometimes, but there are also some tips on how to approach the convention in general. So, topic number one here that we're going to be starting with is your health, because it is the number one most important topic here. You might have this idea that you're not coming here to be healthy, you're coming here to have fun, right? Well, it turns out that these things are related. So if your health takes a downward turn, your fun will also do the same. So here we go. First thing I'm going to cover, you might have heard this one before. How many of you out there have heard of the 6-2-1 rule? This is just getting better and better every year. Okay, if somebody can tell me what the 6-2-1 rule is. Yeah, okay.
6 hours sleep per day, 2 green meals, and 1 shower per day.
Excellent. And that's at a minimum, so at least these things. There's nothing that prevents you from having, 8 hours of sleep or 3 meals or whatever. And this applies to every day at the convention. So let's go through a few of these things, right? It might sound paradoxical, but it turns out you need sleep to stay awake. And that's kind of important if you want to have fun. You know what happens if you don't get enough sleep? It typically won't kill you instantly. But what it will do is it can kill your fun. So you will become tired, and that makes it makes it harder to have fun. You will become less fun because you're tired. And then there's this other thing that happens whenever you stress your body by not adhering to these rules, is that's sort of like leaving the door open to your because your immune system weakens. It's like you're leaving the door open. I wouldn't say that furries are diseased, but there are, furries here from different parts of the world, and they're bringing with them a bit of the local flora and fauna, including the bacterial flora and fauna, and maybe viruses too. So the thing is, if you do that, then these germs will converge inside of you, and then they're going to have a rave. And then you feel really bad. So try to avoid that happening to you, and one of the ways to do so is to actually get a proper amount of sleep every night. And by all means, there's nothing that says that you have to sleep during the night. If you get tired, that's usually a signal that maybe you should take a nap at least. And if you're staying here, your hotel room is very accessible. If you're staying in the second hotel, we have shuttles and everything. So take advantage of that if you need it. There's nothing that says that you have to be tired. Next up, topic of food. I think all of you know, you've made it this far in life because you know that you have to eat. Well, it turns out that conventions can be so freaking fun and so much stuff happening so that people forget that they need to put food into themselves. And that food is like calories, that's the fuel that our bodies run on. So you keep going for a while, but eventually you're going to crash. And this is something that happens at all bigger conventions, and the less it happens, the better. But there might be a situation where the medics or Uncle Coggy at Anthrocon or somebody gets a call and they say, there's an unresponsive person in the lobby. Now that can be really, really bad. So the first responders, they rush there, and as soon as you get to the person, you wake them up. And then eventually, if you can get their attention, you ask, when was the last time you ate? And most of the time they respond something like, I can't remember. And then you found the problem. So don't let that happen to you. Please make sure that you eat at least 2 proper meals a day. Like, okay, snacks, crisps, sweets, they do not count as proper meals. It's okay to have them, but it's in addition to the 2 meals, not to replace them, mind you. Okay, so I wrote here, something that your mom would cook for you. Now, if your mom doesn't cook for you, or wouldn't, imagine some Christmas fairy tale storybook mom and what she would cook for you. So you get something good into your body. What is that? I'm still connected here. AV is the voice of AV.
My sincerest apologies, we're going to reconnect something because due to some technological miracle, because we did everything correct, it's not our fault obviously, your images are not appearing on the stream. I think Mousy has been nibbling on the cables up here.
No.
It happens sometimes, so give me a few seconds, the screen might go black and then return and then go black again, but we'll fix it.
So maybe I can keep talking then. The other whoa, a Christmas miracle. Anyways, so the final point on here is energy drinks. They do not actually give you energy. What they do is make you not feel how tired you are. And that can be really bad, so don't rely on them to take you through the convention either, please. Then there's this delightful little delicate item of washing. So the thing is, people say that the human nose is bad, but it really isn't. What it is especially good at is filtering out persistent smells, so you can smell new things. However, that means sometimes people can smell things that you cannot. And for that reason, it's a very good idea to shower. Like, there is a reason our culture promotes regular showering. And even if you're a really, really nice guy, people won't want to be around you if you do not, if you eschew showers. So the idea is to do it once every day. Now, if you say do heavy labor or go dancing or whatever, you're talking drenched in sweat or go into fursuit, by all means, shower more often. And after you're done, please make sure you put on clean clothes. Because otherwise, basically you're just putting your old filth back onto your body, and that's not a good idea. There's one other thing that might be good to wash, and that is your paws. Remember those germs I spoke about? Turns out hand sanitizer can, hand washing and hand sanitizer, they can both reduce the risks and issues associated with this. And we even have hand sanitizer stations around the convention, so there's no excuse not to be clean. Okay, I've spoken about food previously. Let's do drinks also. So it's a good idea to drink and always be properly hydrated, especially if you're doing something that makes you sweat, like fursuiting. And we even have special areas where we have water and energy, no, not energy, but sugar drinks, so you can get some energy and calories back with your water, and also salty things if you've been sweating a lot. And please use that infrastructure if you're out in fursuit. However, I know some of you like to drink something else, right? Alcohol, the social lubricant. And so it's totally okay, as long as you know your limit and stay within that limit. Because the thing that happens if you cross over that limit is that, at first, you might become more and more extroverted and easier to interact and so on. But when you reach that limit, things start to take a downward turn. You can go from a fun guy to a drunken asshole. Then, if you get too much, you might start feeling a little queasy, and you might throw up on the rug somewhere or something, and then suddenly, it's not only your friends that are upset with you, it's going to be the hotel that's not going to like you, somebody else is going to need to clean that up, right? And it was also going to be us, because we really don't want trouble with the hotel. So, please, if somebody tells you that you've had enough, take that hint. Oh yeah, and one other thing that I didn't put on here, but please, there are certain things called illegal drugs. As you can hear by the name, they are illegal. So we will, please, they will not be tolerated, and that's very clear in our policies. So just stay within the limits, please. Okay, and then this topic. Some of you might meet someone special here at the convention, and I think that's a wonderful holiday. But please be responsible with what you do and stay safe. On a personal note, I have several friends and friends of friends who have not been responsible and as a result gotten infected with certain incurable diseases and certain other diseases also. So we really want to see all of you back here in the future. So take responsibility for what you do. Now, there is no excuse not to be responsible, because if you require protection, you can contact our medics either in person or electronically. And we had this last year, I believe we have it this year as well. They will provide you, no questions asked, with condoms delivered discreetly and at no cost to your room. So, if you require that service, please. Because your health is that important to us, and it should be that important to you. Okay, so now we're done talking about you. Let's talk about some other things we had at this convention. So, say, if you walk into the lobby down there, how can you tell that there's a furry convention going on? Yeah. Fursuiters, exactly, right? It's not the only thing we do as furries, not by a long shot, right? If you look at the statistics, less than half of all furries even have a fursuit. But it is perhaps the most visible aspect, or has become the most visible aspect of the fandom. Let me ask you this then. How many of you, so put your paws in the air, if this is the first, NordicFuzzCon here and now is the very first time you're seeing fursuiters. In the real life then, in person, correct. Nicely pointed. So that's a fair share out there. Okay, so I have a question now. Is there anybody out there in the audience that is fursuiting for the first time? Oh, but you're not in fursuit, right? Okay, so I would need one fursuit volunteer on stage for this. We can either use Rajin, but if there's a new fursuiter who wants to be on stage, by all means, you're welcome. Do you want to be on stage? Yeah, you can be on stage if you like. Yeah, come up. Also, I would need, I think, two just regular person volunteers up here. One of you just need to stand around and the other needs to do what I do with my hands. Okay, so come up here. I need two people. That's one of you doing, yeah, you can come up. Okay. Let's see, so because we're going to do a little experiment here in vision. Yeah, you're seeing some of these effects here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the volunteers and I'm going to put you here, facing the audience. Just look out into the audience. I'm going to take you up here. You can also stand here, just look out into the audience. And then I'm going to stand behind the fursuiter, and you there, you can stand behind our volunteer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my hand in from your peripheral vision, like this. I'm going to be moving my fingers, and when you see my hand over here, you put your paw on that side in the air. And that way we can visualize how much the fursuiter can see. And we're going to do exactly the same thing here. So you move your two arms in slowly like this, moving your fingers, and when you see them, you put your paw in the air on the respective side, right? This makes sense. I hope this makes sense. Let's see if it works. Here we go.
Let's go straight into the audience and see if you can see my hand somewhere. And the other side also. So something like this. Do you notice a difference? Yeah. I think that was a yes. Okay, thank you very much. I thank the volunteers. Do I need you anymore on stage?
Yeah, I would need the fursuiter a little bit more. But thank our volunteers, please give them a hand. So I'm going to be talking a bit and then I'm going to do a little demo on you. So what we saw here, right, is that fursuiters have a reduced field of vision, typically, from what a normal person has. So this can be tunnel vision, or it can be, I've run into horse fursuits, I can only see that way and not forwards. So this means that things that are normally dangerous become extra dangerous because they have no idea maybe that you're doing them. Like, for instance, running up and hugging fursuiters from behind is absolutely not a good idea. Glomping or pouncing, or for that matter, even lifting a fursuiter. Many people have bad backs and can be seriously injured if you do that. So, whenever you want to interact with a fursuiter, the first thing you do is you get their attention. And then you signal what you want to do, like maybe you want to take a picture, or maybe you're filming or something, or if you want to hug, how do you signal you want to hug? Yes, exactly. So,
that even works.
So that seemed to work, right? Yeah, that's a little bit more for you. Basically, and also, so it has to be always consensual, right? You have to get their attention, make sure that they're on the ball, on the game, that they agree with what you're doing. Also, for things like elevators or things like that, or big, if there's a crowd, try to give fursuiters the right of way. They don't see where they're going anyways, and so on, so be careful about that. Now, there's one other thing. You might want to interact with fursuiters, like hug them, or other things. Now the thing is, fursuits are like walking artwork, and artwork is kind of expensive, and it's easy to damage. So there are a couple of things that you should, for instance, not do. Say, if you run into a beautiful fursuit and you want to scratch it, do not do, "Oh, what a cute fursuit," because unlike on your dog or whatever, artificial fur will not grow back. So what you should do, of course, is once you've made sure that you have consent to pet them, you can pet them very gently and along the grain of the fur, in order not to damage them. Some other things you should not do is, such a cute fursuit, let me pet. Or for instance, if you're eating something and then, it's gonna be very expensive and difficult to clean. Yes, let's see. Oh yeah, would you pull on the tail of your dog or your cat? Would you pull on the tail of a fursuiter? The answer to that is also no. Good job. Do not do that. I believe yes. And the final thing is you want to respect the no man's land, because there might not be a gentleman in there. So be a little careful when you hug fursuiters and respect certain zones. I think that's all. Please give our volunteer fursuiter a warm hand, and thank you for your participation. Okay, so not only do we have fursuiters here, there are also other, how should I say it, fandom exclusives or specials that you can find here. So, how many of you have a favorite furry artist? Oh, that's a couple of you, come on. I know, yeah, maybe you have several. Do you know, perhaps there's some artist that you know is coming here that you are really excited to maybe buy some of their stuff, or yeah, wonderful. So the thing is, they're here, and they enjoy their fans, right? They're here to meet you, maybe sell stuff to you, and so on. And there's nothing wrong with being a fan. But please, try to observe proper manners when you interact. So there is this one guy who is well known for biting people's neck as a way of saying hi. And even, he gets into character, I think, a bit too much. So not everyone likes that. So, it's totally fine to say hi and so on, but you gotta understand that they might not know you as much as they know, as you know them from their art or whatever. And I think the most important rule is to respect the artists. So they are here, some of them are here to try to basically pay for the convention with art that they make or things that they sell in the den. So if somebody wants to pay, then please let them go through. Or if they say that they need some time to work on art for somebody or something like that, then that might not be a good time to chat. So respect their social cues and then find somebody else to talk to. Oh yeah, and please, furry is an art-based fandom. We should treasure that. And if somebody has a specific price for their commission, please do not haggle. And don't buy it if it isn't worth it, right? That seems simple. There is this one story that Uncle Kage loves to tell, and I think it illustrates this issue quite well. So there was this one artist who was open for delicious full body commissions for $50 US. And then he was approached by a very happy fan who only had $40. So please, can you take my commission? I only have $40. Can you please draw my persona? It's this wonderful fox. It's always foxes, right? So please draw it. And eventually, after hearing that for a very long time, the artist relented. So fine, I'm gonna draw you. I'm gonna draw you your persona. You can come back tomorrow and pick it up. So the guy returns, pays his $40, returns the next day, and he gets his picture. Of course, it's his persona, it's beautiful, and so on. Your eyes are naturally drawn, right? Oh, I know you furries. The eyes are naturally drawn to this region, where there is a conspicuous hole. Because he paid 80% of the price, so he got 80% of the picture. So, don't be that person, please. Anyways, okay, yes. So we've talked about how yourselves, how you relate to fursuiters, to artists, now we're going to talk about how to relate to basically everyone here. So you all signed those rules of conduct of registration. That you signed, that you read them. You didn't, did you?
I did.
And yes, some of you did. You might find that there are some things in there that sound silly. The thing is, even the silliest rules, they're there because somebody tried it. Yeah, don't make us add more stuff to the rules, please. However, I would say there's one rule that I think is the most important one. We've already touched upon it before. It's respect. Please, respect not only fursuiters, not only artists, which we talked about, respect everyone here. And it has to be mutual, you know. Ask before you're doing something. If they say no, that means no, right? If they don't say yes, that means that they haven't said yes to it. Yes. Keep going. Yes. Some people might not want their photo taken, so be sure to obtain consent before you do that. And also, respect should not only extend to the attendees, it should also extend to the hotel. Like, don't destroy hotel property and capture video of it and post it on YouTube so that Uncle Kagi or somebody can find it, because that happened and that person is not welcome back to Anthropon. So, you know, the hotel here they're our hosts, so please try to be nice to the hotel itself and its staff. And finally, also us on the staff and crew, the NordicFuzzCons do. We have devoted a lot of time, a lot of our free time this last year to try to give you the best possible experience that we can. Now, we're all volunteers. None of us get paid for the work we do for the convention. Moreover, in fact, we pay to work. Like literally, I have to also pay to attend, for instance. I was living in Japan at one point. I think I spent something like $4,000 or $5,000 US on just working for the convention, because I had to fly to Sweden, give presentations, fly back, and things like that. So we really try to give you a good experience. But if we say something stupid, please respect our word. We're gonna make mistakes, and we're very sorry for that, but please be nice to us. Okay. Oh yeah, and finally, this is an 18+ convention, right? That does not mean that you can go all balls to the wall 18+ in public areas. What happens in public areas has to be acceptable for a general, public audience, especially since we're also going to have the open house coming in here, and that's lots of people who are not necessarily 18+. So don't make people uncomfortable. If you want to, you can do whatever you like in your room. Well, okay, almost everything, like don't destroy. But out in public, it has to be acceptable for everyone. And then finally, the one thing in the rules that you also need to know about, I spoke about the most important thing. The most important item is this, right? Your con badge. Do you have it?
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Because you really should. It's your ticket, right? It shows that you paid to go to this thing. So you always need to wear it, so that we know that you're allowed to be here. And please, don't lose it, because it can be difficult to get it back. Certain conventions charge actually money. You have to pay for another registration to get your badge back. Some other conventions do not. And then there have been these people who, oops, I lost my badge, can I get a new one? Okay, fine. And then, oops, I lost my badge again, can I get a new one? Oops, I lost it again. And eventually you realize that like 5 of this person's friends are also walking around with badges that they didn't pay for. I think that's honestly disrespectful. Attending here or staying in the hotel without paying for it is very bad form. I mean, it's offensive to everyone who actually took a lot of time to get money and space, and do the right thing. So also, it's in the rules that you really shouldn't do it, because then we're going to kick you out and you won't be welcome back. So don't sleep over in the hotel if you haven't paid for that. Don't attend the convention if you haven't paid for it, and don't help other people do the same thing, please. Yes, so now you've all been warned. Okay, so I think that's actually basically the end of the boring rules of conduct bit. And let's figure out how to get oriented around this convention. So you know, this is not just a ticket, right? It has useful information on it. So if you want to figure out who's who and what they're doing or whatever, you can just look at this, at their con badge and at their lanyard. So you can see on the bottom there, you know, it might have your avatar. It should definitely have your furry name or whatever you filled in that field at registration. And then on top, you can see, you know, what people do, like what languages they speak, or at least they filled out to the system, and also the role at the convention. So most of you are going to have, I think, green lanyards, maybe some of you blue, but the edge strip at the top and the lanyard, if it's red, orange, or yellow, it means somebody who's who unfortunately has been roped in by us to help. But anyways, so basically those are your stew, and they can help you if you have an issue. The black lanyards are for our security. That sounds scary, right? But it isn't. Security is more like customer service. They're here to prevent people from doing things that are not fun, right? That's the basic idea. And they are very happy to answer your questions. Many of us have radios. I packed mine away so I could present. But so we can always, you know, radio for somebody else who can help you if you need it. Now, it's not just you can ask the stew for help, but there are many other sources of information also, right? How many here have the official app installed on your phone? That's a fairly good number. I know some of you also have older phones, right, where it's difficult to install stuff, but I can really recommend it because that schedule can be updated continuously as delays happen. And we also know new for this year we have an iOS app, right? So there's no excuse anymore. Okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe you have some other weird OS. I don't know. Anyways, there are a number of other sources like the con book. Anybody have their con book here? Can you show us what it looks like? Yes, a question.
People with Microsoft phones can't use it.
Microsoft.
People with Microsoft phones can't use that.
Exactly. I used to have a Microsoft phone. I couldn't use the app for several years. Yes, so I'm sorry, Microsoft fans. It's not going to work out. Anyways, yes, that's the con book. It has lots of stories. It has lots of information. It has a schedule and with details about all the events. But some of them might have been moved, so therefore the app is usually better. Does anybody have a pocket program? Yes. So that is also very convenient. You can put it in your pocket if you don't have the app. That's maybe the second best thing because it's it has most of the times and which day different things happen. There's a flyer if this is your first FurryCon with tips. You can go on the website, right? I especially want to highlight this thing called social.NordicFuzzCon.org. It has a list of so many different things like Telegram channels for God knows what and different social media websites and so on and so forth. Particularly, I would recommend the NordicFuzzCon Live, the first two links that I put there. That's where we announce delays or panels and events that are happening and so on. It's always a good idea to keep your eyes peeled for that one. Yes, and there's a lot of activity, for instance, in the unofficial Telegram chat. You'll find a link there. And you might see at the very bottom here that it says ConOps, right? How many people know what ConOps is? Not so many. So let me tell you, stands for operations or convention operations. It's basically the front desk and customer service desk on the con, right? Everybody, that's actually more like a nerve center. Everybody uses this. I go there constantly to pick stuff up or drop stuff up or find people or I don't know what. And it's the same thing basically for you. So if you have a question, they are there to, if you need to speak to a human, they're there to help you with that. And it's open quite late, also on the main days. I think it closes at like 11 or something in the evening, so it's open late. And you just go there if you have any sort of question. If you need, if there's a security incident or disturbances or harassment, that's one of the places where you can turn. And we would take that seriously. If you've lost something, or if you found something that somebody else lost, that is the place where we have our lost and found. We're trying to synchronize with the hotel this year so they take their stuff to us. So that's also your first stop if you need to find anything that you've lost. I know a good thing about losing a badge is it has your name on it. So, And finally, also, if you just need to speak to a certain person that's on the staff or crew, we can probably use radios and things like that to get in touch with them and make sure that that happens. Now, when the ConOps is closed, there are still ways to get help, right? You can go, if you find anybody with a radio, they can surely radio any of the people who are awake. And you can always go to the hotel front desk as well. And so you might wonder, where do you find ConOps? The people who knew where ConOps were, do you know where to find it? That's a few of you at least. But I put the map here basically. It's in that direction, as almost as far as you can get. That's the basic idea. And this map, by the way, should be, I think, in the com book, and you can study it in order to figure out the labyrinthine layout of this place. Now, okay. So we talked about if you have questions and things like that. Now, sometimes problems arise. Sometimes something happens that displeases you. And the thing is, you should think about a few things. So maybe it is something that we can fix for you. Awesome. Then please let us know. Because then we can find some way of maybe fixing it. We can't guarantee that, but at least if we know about it, we can do something. If nobody tells us that you're having a problem, chances are not good that it's just going to magically resolve itself. So please let us know straight away if it's something that we can fix for you. Don't go on Twitter 6 months later and complain that we didn't do anything if you didn't tell us. Okay. Sometimes it's things that we really can't fix this year, but are really good for us to know, and we can work them into our process and do something about it next year. You know, buy some stuff that we don't have on site or whatever. And in that case, you can give it to the feedback department, which I'm head of, so it will eventually end up on my desk. There are many different ways to do so, but the feedback boxes are the most well-used ones right now. And there will be other ways to do it after the con, like we send out a big survey where you can fill out talk about your experience. And we have a forum where you can make posts and things like that. And a feedback session where you can sit in the audience and shout stuff at us, and we write it down for you and look into it later. But there's this third category here. Sometimes there's something that we really can't fix. Like the hotel needs to install more elevators. Well, we agree with you, but I don't think we can make it happen. We don't have that budget. So if you can convince the hotel to do it, that's wonderful. And you should please let other people fix it if they can. But if they can't, please accept that there are limits to what we can do, and we're all volunteers, so we can't work all kinds of magic. We do our best. Okay, finally, I think Trax already mentioned this. We're gonna have one authorized reporter here, and that was tomorrow, I believe. We also have What the Fuzz, that's run by Furries, no worries. However, sometimes Furry has had unfortunate press. And there are probably reporters that we have said no to, that shouldn't be here. And if we're really unlucky, they will show up anyways. So don't give them anything. You know, if you see somebody who is not an authorized press person here, who's asking you questions or want to film you or things like that, then...
How do I know who is authorized?
Something like Trax said, normally we have a press badge, and so I've been speaking. I believe that they're going to wear a large-ish, I hope, badge that says press and looks kind of official. I don't expect any of the uninitiated reporters to be able to fake that, so that's the idea. That's what Trax also, I believe, said during opening ceremonies. I can't give you 100% clarity on that because I was talking to some people and they didn't know that they should have a badge, but I think it's going to happen. Anyways, so... You know, if you're uncertain about something like that, make sure to approach a convention staffer, preferably someone with a radio, security if you see them, and we can deal with it. Do not attempt to talk to them yourselves, because they can twist your words. They have the editing button, they're like God in the video domain. You don't even have to say a word. All you need to do is just nod or something like that, and then then you just put some voiceover on before that, and then you're agreeing to whatever they want. And I've seen that happen with footage from Anthrocon. Do not let that happen, okay? Yes. And this is not about whitewashing, this is business. if NordicFuzzCon gets too bad a reputation, we might not be able to, you know, hold the convention anymore, or the restaurants might put up little signs that say "No furries welcome. We saw you on TV." You know, that has happened. So this is for your protection, and also other conventions are not going to be able to start up even. Yes, I think this brings us to the end. So now let me try to give you a few tips. Not too many, but just a few ideas on how you can approach your first furry convention and try to make it a memorable experience and find out, you know, what to do. Because there's a lot to do, right? Has any one of you looked at the schedule? Yes. Were there many events, you think?
Many.
There were quite a few, right? So, this is my personal view. I would actually, yes, so I followed this approach, and I would say it made my second furry convention even better than my first one. Because you see, there are many things happening. You might want to look through the schedule and figure out, okay, this thing sounds like it could be fun, or I'm totally into that series, I should go to that thing, or this is completely new to me, I have no idea what this is, but maybe I'm interested, I should go there, you know, and because then you can go to these different events and you figure out which ones you actually like. So I did that my first con. I went to many different events to check out all the different things, and then I realized, oh, I'm totally into that, and that thing, let's never do that again. And then you can concentrate on those for your next furry con and make it even better. So that's sort of my suggestion. Try to plan a little bit what you do, but not too much. So some thoughts that I have, maybe look for things you can't do at home, like hug fursuiters a lot, you know, or stuff like that. That might give you a little bit more of a unique experience, but maybe some of you prefer to do it differently. If you want to get to know new people, we've done this in surveys. We actually, in previous conventions, we send out a little survey afterwards and ask people, so which of these different things were the most useful for you to make new friends? And the one that came out on top was the meet and greet panels. So these are basically social panels, special panels for you to go to if you're into this, or into that, or you like Steven Universe, I don't know. You know, you go to this thing and you meet other people who are there because they have the same interest and they want to meet other people too. So these turn out to be quite good tools for getting new friends. And, you know, getting to know some people. And there's one other way to do that, and I love that one because it helps us out. So you can volunteer for our soup. Did you want to say something? Yeah, you're in the soup. So it stands for some other useful personnel. And because then you get to help this magic happen, you know, become an elf in Santa's factory or Mouse's factory or something like that. But it really is fun, you know. Uniting with someone to make something happen is an awesome way to make friends. I am proud and happy to say that I made some of my absolute best friends through NordicFuzzCon, through the work I've done here. And yes, and you too. Yeah, I made you as a friend, for instance. And because you're working towards a common goal, and it's awesome to see things come together. So that is my other suggestion for getting to know people, because you have to work with them, so you will get to know them. There's no way around that. And finally, I mentioned, you know, to do things in the schedule, right? You can find things, you can figure out. No, not everything useful is in this and good is in the schedule. You know, sometimes you just see something happening in the lobby, or somebody says, should we go and eat? And you can say yes. Or, you know, yeah, or you might see something on social media that's happening or whatever, and they're inviting people. So don't be afraid to deviate from the plans you make. You know, it's good to plan, but if you have something good happens that's better, just do that instead. What's the question?
Or you can do get your neighbors. Call people and try to find the neighboring number.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So because everybody has a number, right? That's a fun game. I didn't even think about that one.
I've been doing that most of the day. I'm hoping, I don't know how many people at this point, and just start talking with them.
So there are many, I mean, yeah, so look for your number. If somebody didn't catch that, you can look for the people who have the numbers next to yours on your con badge. Which is a fun way then to get to know, you know, you're going to meet a lot of people. That's a great suggestion. So the point is, there are many different ways to get to know people. the one thing I would recommend here is, I shouldn't say recommend, but you might feel a little shy. That's okay. There's no need to be shy. We don't bite, unless you ask nicely. But it is totally okay to be shy. You know, because, okay, I've been to 20 conventions, right? I'm a veteran now. I look like a Christmas tree with all these badges. But everyone who's here has had their own very first FurCon. It's just that somebody else, you know, they had their second and their third and so on. Everyone here has been in your situation, including yours truly. This is an interpretation with my character and based on actual events at my very first furry convention. Yes, it is not particularly elegant. But so let me tell you the story of this. So, for my first FurryCon, I wasn't, you know, I've seen the press coverage. I wasn't really certain if this was something I wanted to do, or I wanted to try it, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to be identified with it or continue with it. You know, I could always be on the internet and look at the art, okay, but so I was a little shy about that. So I decided I was going to go to a different continent to do my first FurryCon, because if I didn't like it, I could just escape back to Europe, and I wouldn't have to meet anyone who would recognize me. So that I thought was a great idea. And where better to go than Anthrocon, like at the time the biggest event. So surely I would be able to find someone to talk to there. Right? Sounded amazing. So I did. So I actually landed in Philadelphia, which is not where Anthrocon is. I met some like 3 or 4 or 5 people that I hadn't met before, and we went to a restaurant and so on. It was okay, you know, it was a small crowd. They had to talk to you. It sort of worked. And then we also drove in the car together to Anthrocon. So far, I thought I'd overcome the most major hurdle of meeting total strangers. We got into the hotel in Pittsburgh after the long drive at like between 2 and 3 in the morning, go straight up to the hotel, go to bed. I wake up the day thereafter and I realize I'm totally alone in my room, because the other guy I'm rooming with, he works for the con, so I had to run off to a meeting with the hotel. So I'm completely alone. Okay, but I'm there to go to the con and have fun. So fine, okay, I get out of bed, con. I get everything prepped, con. I go out in the corridor, push the button for the elevator, and then I get into the elevator, con. And as the elevator, you know, starts to go down, I start to get this sinking feeling, you know. I'm realizing I don't actually know anybody here. All my friends, I have no idea where they're at. Okay, so con, and then I get to the bottom, the doors open, and in front of me is this ginormous lobby. It's full of people and fursuiters, and they're all talking to each other because they're all friends with each other, and I'm not talking to any one of them because I don't know any one of them, I'm not friends with them, so I'm like, con. I turn around, get back into the elevator, push the button to get back to my floor as quickly as possible, get into my room, get under the bed, and I do that. Okay, and then I to make it even worse, I send some text messages to all of my other friends, like, where are you, help, and things like that. But then I thought, am I gonna have fun at this convention if I keep doing this, right? So I made a deal with myself. My friends, they were all away, they couldn't come and help me, so I was like, okay, I'm going to give this one more try. I'm going to go down into the lobby again, and I'm going to talk to someone before I run away. So that way I could convince myself to do it. So I went down into the lobby. I looked around for a bit, feeling very awkward. I spotted this one person. I was like, they look like they're friendly, and I could butt in here. So I was like, hello, and we got to talking. And I got to hug a fursuiter for the first time, and turns out they were really nice and easy to talk to, and they introduced me to their friends and so on, and before I knew it, I didn't feel like running away anymore. And I was having a great time, and I didn't feel like that at all for the rest of the convention. So, it is totally okay to be shy, but there is something out there to gain also from, to take the plunge and socialize and try something new. And with that, I think we've reached the end of my panel. I have a few people to thank. This person has been very important for the fandom and for this panel. If there were any funny jokes in it, it's his fault. If there were any unfunny jokes, it's my fault. Yes, but he isn't here. He goes to EF and NordicFuzzCon, so that's why I had to say it. And finally, also, we've seen some clip art here, and the wonderful picture of not my persona on the front, and so on. And some people who also have, the picture of my persona, of course, and some people who have provided input on the presentation. I'm very grateful for their help. And with that, that's all. That's the end of the story. No, it's just the beginning. Please, thank you for being here. Now go out and have a fun convention.